Ah, looks like it's on. All right, wait for the other page to start playing to make sure the microphone's working or something close to working. Just wait for it for a moment, please. And such, it's doing something. Any minute now.
Wait for the other page to start playing.
Yeah, it's pretty loud, but who cares? Somebody will care, but I don't care. And maybe I just turn my volume down, and that'll just make me not have to care. Yeah, I just won't care if it's too loud. Anyway, can't really tell. I'm trying a different microphone just because I'm trying to get some better audio quality out of these live rooms because it did. Webcam microphone sucks. Logitech sucks. Good at making cameras, but pretty sucky at making microphones. Anyway, built-in ones anyway. I have two of these cameras, and they're both got shitty mics. So what do I want to get to? It's just don't have a real plan. I mean, I sort of do, but I sort of don't because I haven't quite finished my what my current worksheet isn't completely wonderful. I do like the symbol though. I got to draw a better version of it. The idea of the four circles locked inside of each other kind of thing. It's a good representation for this whole dynamic of dimensionality and the fact that how it's related to polarization and that it's really this whole argument about what things are doing is really about what dimensions their substance is in. And it's let's see the pattern is the polarization I wrote down. But there's something more profound in it all, in the sense that I've sort of realized that velocity is in a way killing your acceleration. You're being in empty space puts you at maximum acceleration, as funny as that sounds. So when you're sitting in space and there's nothing around you, you're technically accelerating in all directions equally. So it's your most active state in a sense. You're full of acceleration, and when you gain velocity, you're not really gaining acceleration because your total movement is actually down, and what you're doing is decelerating. So acceleration is really deceleration, which is sort of an interesting concept, in my opinion. I think it's part of this whole. The truth is, our intuitions are. People keep accusing me of basing what I'm doing on intuition, and they're the ones with the intuition problem, because they're thinking of momentum as being the power that it's overwhelming something, and the key point of momentum is that as you gain velocity, you're losing your tangential dimension. So the reason why you're harder to hit or you're harder to do this or that is because you're actually less substantive in your perpendicular dimensions as you gain velocity in a direction, like a piece of light. Eventually, you will become invisible in your perpendicular dimensions if you gain the speed of light. And so I was thinking of that argument in the context of, I hear something, Hunter. It doesn't look very good. Looks like a troll. So it looks like. I don't like trolls much. What are you doing here? You have to have an answer pretty quickly, or you're not going to be here very long. Okay, I get the message. Bye. Gee, retard. Hunter squad. What the hell does that mean? Anyway, everybody's just so fucking stupid. Yeah, I don't know what people are up to. Don't get them at all, mostly. they're either too sheeple, they're just too fucking conventional, or they're just too fucking stupid, or too fucking crazy, or too fucking something. So Lego man said hi, and then he said ... Well, interesting enough, I suppose. Could ponder that for centuries. But I won't, because it wouldn't be very productive. All right, so I was thinking of this velocity thing just casually when I was thinking about this whole idea that velocity is really killing acceleration. With the whole idea of when something's moving into the Earth or it's in an orbit. There we go. Somebody else trying.
Lol.
Yeah, they came into the room, muted me. Oh, it's just so profoundly interesting. Lego Man did that for absolutely no useful reason. So he comes in the room, says hi, then posts a comment ... Then he comes into the room and just makes a zombie noise. And again, people are arguing with me that the human race doesn't need to be annihilated immediately. Yeah, come on. How much evidence do you need that humans are just too useless? You just can't kill them quickly enough or in enough mass. You just really can't. Can't make a mistake, it seems to me. Because if they're not some kind of crazy asshole, they fart too much or they smell or something. So there's always some good reason to kill one. But I digress. That's not physics. All right, so I was thinking about the velocity thing when it comes to planets and gravity. And the fact that the planet doesn't really fall. I mean, technically, I don't know. I haven't worked it out yet. But when you think how much distance it actually does fall into its orbit, it probably isn't as much as the actual meters per second of gravity. But I haven't figured, like I said, I haven't done the math to figure that out yet. But the real point I'm making is that the velocity is what's keeping it from falling, in the sense that what it's doing is making the gravity less effective. Its velocity is essentially, again, destroying that tangential dimension and the perpendicular dimension. And the gravity is, obviously the velocity is perpendicular to the gravity, or it couldn't be in an orbit. And so, yes, the gravity is less effective because the mass equation is imbalanced. The object is losing mass in the tangential, the perpendicular dimensions, and it's as its mass is getting heavier in the direction it's moving, quite obviously. So that's another thing where we think momentum is what makes a bullet hitting you mean something. The reason why it means something is because the bullet now has more mass, a higher percentage of its mass is in the direction of you. Okay, and so it's more massive in your dimension, and that's why it will do damage to you, and it does no damage to you in the perpendicular dimensions, because yes, it has no mass towards you in those dimensions. It's significant. So yeah, so I think that is a very a useful direction to first principle kind of thing to understand. Yeah. Thing I keep evading. It's e-cigarette. It's just nicotine, and not complicated. You've seen people do this before, mostly. I'm just too cheap to buy batteries, so I just use wires instead. Yeah, yeah. My Chinese vaporizer, atomizers, so they're a little bit dysfunctional, but you get the job done. Yeah, quite good. Sorry, yeah, I'm just I need nicotine mood. Um, all right, so yeah, but it gets complicated because this is where you're trying to. I would love to be able to say that this is the big picture view, is that it's quite obvious that force causes acceleration, and that accelerating matter creates. Obviously, it has to get rid of the acceleration. It's gaining mass in one direction, means it has to lose mass in another direction, so to speak. Or dimension would be the key word. So as it gains mass, as it transfers from stuff moving in all directions to a higher proportion of stuff moving in the direction it's going, like the school of fish, it means it does have to expel, in a sense, stuff going the other dimensions. But the truth is, it's not really expelling extra stuff. It's expelling extra stuff of a particular polarity. Um, and that's where that's like it's just a level of complexity you don't want to have to put on that simple argument that something just gains acceleration by absorbing velocity. So the easy thing to say is fish goes in going this way. Obviously something has to go out going the other way, but the real physics is the fish goes in this way and it goes straight through, and stuff will go in and out because the whole field is always going through all the matter. And it's all you're really doing is changing what's polarized in the school. The school is only identified by polarization, so it's really a collection of polarization that's moving through a field of randomly polarized bits. So it's like if you use color and you had little BBs, you'd have red, green, and blue, let's say. Matter would be configuring blue ones in one way, configuring the green ones in another way, configuring. So it's organizing the colors, and by organizing them, it can release them in specific ways. That means it'll take blue in, it has to leave green out, perpendicular kind of thing. That's a good way to say it. But that's still in the mix of a very random field. Um, I mean, I have a poor illustration. Yeah, it's really too poor to even show, but the idea would be there's still a whole bunch of stuff. There's a bunch of stuff, arrows going in different directions. But the only ones that define the matter are, say, 10 that are of the right polarization. And it's that field of polarization that moves. So if I was to draw a circle around those 10, it's like if I add a new one, the new one gets added in the front, and I let go of whatever's in the back, kind of a thing. And it's usually going to be going this way. Because technically you don't let go of anything going the other way because that's the road rule. As you're going faster, you're eating more road. So you'll always expel road behind you in proportion to the road you eat in front of you. So as fast as you're eating road forward, you're shitting road backwards, kind of thing. So you don't release anything opposite your acceleration. You release it perpendicular. So, and that's a pretty certain thing. Like I said, that's the conventional physics completely agrees with this perpendicular argument that moving charges create magnetic fields and electric fields perpendicular to the accelerating charge. So that's a fact that regular physics accepts. So I don't have to argue. I don't know what's, again, with this, you go into somebody else's room, it's just so rude, and mute them. I just, accident. Why does Google give them that feature? So I don't understand it. So he comes in with a name called Lego Man. It's got the same name again, and he gets away with that after I blocked him. I banned him. Now, what's the point of doing that, YouTube? I mean, why do you give me the ability to ban somebody and it doesn't do anything? It doesn't mean anything. I mean, I can ban him from the chat, but I can't ban him from the room. I mean, it's just retarded. Fuck. Anyway, where was I? I don't know how long I was muted. I mean, it's just, you know. I mean, little things like that are just, you're just like, is there somewhere we can petition to have a rational world to live in? Like I said, what is the rational reason for Google not to fix that? It can't be called a feature. There can't possibly be any use to allowing some troll to go into a room and mute the person who made the room. There just can't be a use for that. So stupid. Anyway, all right. God, I mean, it's really no point doing live rooms because the only people here are idiots, psychotic, crazy fucks. Yeah. Only audience available, let's put it that way. And so that's no point. So I should just make videos. Maybe I'll go back to doing that. I was just giving people this opportunity who wanted to defend conventional physics. And there's obviously no one who wishes to do that, you know. And so, yeah, just more and more, obviously, you know, they can't defend their religion. Beyond saying something stupid like Feynman says or whatever. All right, so is Dragon Ball 2 more realistic? Blah, blah, blah. Like I'm going to waste any time at all with this crap. No. Goodbye. Gee, you're so interesting. I mean, people waste their time typing nonsense. I mean, I enjoyed that a little bit, I have to admit. I mean, it's nice when they write like 5 or 6 whole sentences and you don't even read them and delete them. I mean, that is kind of fun because then I know I wasted his time, which, you know, is fun. But yeah, that's, you do a live room and all the conversations that's going to be about is what's the next troll going to be like? What kind of stupid trolly thing are they going to do that they think is hilarious? Like, ha 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 ha. It's so queer. I mean, really, you know, I really don't get trolls. They're just so queer. Yeah, I mean, you know, like a 50-year-old guy in girls' underwear or something. I don't get you fuckers. You think that works somehow? Yeah, it doesn't work as a joke. It doesn't, it's not even close to. No, it doesn't. Not funny. So anyway, where was I? Well, it was pretty much a microphone test, I have to admit. That's primarily, I just wanted to see if a better microphone will improve the audio quality of the videos that are saved from live rooms. I do find the poor audio quality a little bit irritating. Yeah, hey, I don't know, that seems like a dangerous thing for somebody to say. Hey. That's usually what trolls say when they come in. But we'll see. Has some kind of 4 names. Jehu Azrael Lopez Zicardia or something, I don't know. I don't trust people with 2 names, let alone 4. So, yeah, I'm probably not gonna like this guy either. Anyway, all right, so Yeah, I'm trying to find out ways of using symbols that represent this um, in a way that is, visible. I mean, see, I mean, this is just terrible. I'm using a block diagram here. Probably didn't see that, but it's just horrible. That really just doesn't explain the progressing of interaction and the fact that force. Oh, here we go again. Let's see what this asshole is. Nick. I don't know what a Nick is.
What sciencey things are we talking about?
What sciencey thing are we talking about?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. You're a happy person, aren't you? Physics. You know anything about physics?
Teach me.
Really not my job. I mean, you could pay somebody for that, but I'm not going to personally tutor you. That's really not what I'm doing. So if you can make an argument defending Heisenberg as a principle or Huygens or the Copenhagen interpretation, well, you think that's really hilarious, do you? You're so funny. Yeah, right. Like I haven't heard porn. Oh, I mean, just so fucking juvenile. Well, it was a juvenile. What can you expect from a juvenile except juvenile behavior? What a surprise. The juvenile was juvenile. Was juvenile. Yes. All right, so another thing to block anyway. I said block, and YouTube says it banned him. I said block him, and he banned him. So, they can't even get that right. I block, they ban. So another brilliant move by Google. It's really Google, not YouTube's fault. There is no YouTube. It's just Google Tube. And all of its wonderful trolley features. They love spammers and trolls because they sell advertising. That's all they're interested in doing, is wasting people's time. And if we can waste their time, we can have ads on the time wasting, and they win. I mean, Google doesn't care whether you're productive or not. It just cares that your audience is watching an ad. Anyway, assholes. All right. Yes. So So there's this whole force equation, and so it does get kind of interesting when you start doing this big picture kind of thing, because then you realize that, I mean, when you go deeper, acceleration is really de-acceleration. So it's really you can't tell the difference between acceleration and deceleration. So the two events are the same event, number one. And most acceleration that we see as having a concurrent increase in velocity is, in a sense, really a deceleration from your maximum state of acceleration, which you lose some of when you gain velocity, because now you're not vibrating as much in one direction. So if you can understand it as a vibration, you're losing some of your vibrating as you start to gain velocity in one direction. I think it would add up that way. Fairly certain it would. And yeah, so you can still be bouncing up and down, but if you're moving forward, then you're not going backward and forward as much as you were when you were in empty space, not without a velocity. Let's put it that way. So velocity eats acceleration. So moving more is actually moving less, interestingly. Perceptually moving more is, in fact, moving less. It's just that you're moving in one direction, one dimension. All right, so how to explain this in terms of the force mechanics? So the obligation to do is to figure out that it's a force always has to create a velocity, and then when you apply another force to that thing with velocity, depending on where you apply the force, you'll be applying the force to something that has less tangible elements. So let's say I'm moving, I'm the Earth and I'm moving towards the sun. And well, the Earth is a bad example because that's in an orbit and has a velocity perpendicular. So let's just use a meteor or anything I just place in space and it falls because I don't give it any velocity. So it has no velocity and it's just going to fall based on the acceleration of gravity alone. The first step of that is creating a change in the disposition of the thing. So it's going to gain velocity, and it's going to do that through acceleration. And so it has to be understood that where the line between its velocity and what portion of its velocity is acceleration, that gets kind of complicated because the acceleration only happens once. That is, the acquisition of velocity happens once. The maintenance of it is perpetual. So once you have it, you keep it, and you acquire it in some sort of, another single layer type. Somebody typed the letter K. I just don't. You're just like, yeah, okay, I'll block you for that, I think. Yeah, why not? That seems like you're asking for trouble. Yeah, it does. Okay. K? K? Is it okay if I block you? K? Yeah, really. I just don't get it. You just, I mean, technically, I guess you could just round up the people that show up for live rooms, not regulars. Let's say if they're not regulars, they just randomly show up in live rooms. I guess you could just put all those people in concentration camps. You could label them, put kind of, tattoo them, do all that kind of stuff first, of course. Clearly, they have to be trolls. Clearly. Obviously. Without any real doubt. All right, where was I? All right, so the acquisition of velocity and the distinction between the velocity and the acceleration. So while you're accelerating, that's when you're changing the polarization, what's polarized. And the polarization is moving. But clearly the force is still passing, all the forces, all the quanta are still moving through the thing that's moving. So the velocity hasn't changed, that it's in a field and the field is constantly bombarding it from all four directions equally. And it has a polarized imbalance that is allowing it to pass through that field in some sort of shape, something that's recognizable, like a school of fish, so to speak. So yeah, somebody just popped in the room for no reason again, I guess. Andrew, I don't know. No icon to speak of, so not likely a straight up kind of human. Yeah, so there's no way for me. It's really complicated to try to draw that, so that's the part I have to really work on, is drawing it. But what I want to get to is this idea of the electron being these four-dimension, a three-dimensional object, but strictly three-dimensional in the sense that its dimensions are planes. And its perpendicular really is its perpendicular. It doesn't have something other than its perpendicular. And it will only roll like a gyroscope on one of those wheels. So one of the wheels can gain velocity, mass, and the other wheels get smaller as a result. So that would take care of this idea of it's all polarized. This has the same polarization, but it has it all in a different geometry. So it's the same polarization, but in a different dimension. So this, even though this is the same as this, in a different dimension, there's still a different dimension. Okay, it's the same polarization, but in a different dimension, which matters. So that's what gets complicated here, is that you have a variety of polarizations, and then you have three dimensions from the perspective of each oriented piece of matter. Those three dimensions are different dimensions. Well, each oriented piece of an electron, the matter, of course, is going to randomize. Now, so say if I have a piece of matter and I move it, well, the point is now I give it velocity. Now it's not as random. Now more of its gyroscope, so to speak, have to be oriented in the direction of its velocity for it to have acquired velocity. So more of its fish in all of its schools are still going the way it's going, the direction of its velocity. So if I'm going towards the camera, I have to have more elements that are facing towards the camera, more mass elements, so more of the quanta that I own, that occupy me, that define this bag of stuff, more of the stuff has to be oriented in that direction that I'm moving. All right. And which has the implication that if I'm applying more force, that there'll be less chance of me hitting or more chance of me hitting, because now the amount of hittable stuff has increased. So if the force is coming at it, then there's more stuff to hit. If the stuff is coming from the tangent, the perpendicular dimensions, the side or the top or the bottom of then there's less to hit, and the force is less effective. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to try to get to, was how that change affects acceleration. And you can sort of see that acceleration increases as you get closer to something, gravitational acceleration. And part of that might be because your matter is changing, because your matter's accelerating. That's not the right way to say it. No, that won't do. So never mind that. Yeah, never mind. I mean, in the sense that we know the force is what's getting weaker or stronger. In terms of, but yeah, it's the polarization of the force. That's what I want to get to. So as more of you changes, then that means more force that you're expelling is polarized. That's it. So you're expelling the polarized force perpendicularly, and what goes through you is now more. It will not be the same. It won't be as random. So if there was a variety of 100 ways to be polarized, you're eliminating 2% of those varieties when you're in the process of accelerating. All right, so I don't know, it's just, you see, this is just too, you have to do this with diagrams. So there's no point in me talking through this one, I guess, because you're not really going to understand what I'm talking about. You're really not. The real point is the the catch to this thing is that the kinetic thing really doesn't work in terms of creating change unless there's something that can be exchanged, and it's the polarization that is exchanged, and that's really what identifies what a thing is. So I can say I have so much mass inside of me, but in real terms, the quanta that is really me, the polarized part, is probably a small percentage of the quanta, the total quanta, because the field energy is still passing through me. It's just like you can sort of understand gravity is still passing through you even though you're not moving. it's still accelerating the bits, it's still processing through you. It ends up putting a force through your chair, through the feet, the floor. Um, all of that is sort of invisible, but you know it happened. You know it's going through you, and it doesn't tear you to pieces or break your material form, but it's still passing through you. And that's the argument being made, is that we're always in a field of that stuff, and so no matter what we're doing, we're still traversing that field, and it's polarization with within the shape of what we are, the what we own of space, um, that defines the matter part. And that matter part is going to do the exchanging of polarization, in the sense that something comes in one way, it leaves another way, and this goes forward. And it does that every Planck second of time. It's doing a certain amount of these conversions. And the whole point is when my mass gains velocity, it's because a certain percentage of the quanta that I possess right now will be doing this forward at this polarization. And if this leaves this forward at this polarization, then something has to replace it if I'm to maintain my velocity. So what's really happening is this is being exchanged for this, so we can convert something coming in to this. Yeah. So it's really a conversion of something on it's a perpendicular element goes out, and then another perpendicular element comes in, and that's what keeps you going forward, is that they keep doing that in a way where, let's see how to say that, the one that comes in is in front and the one that leaves is at the end. So if I'm going this way, I expel a piece going up, and then I consume a piece going in, but I'm doing it forward of the position, and that would mean I have velocity. So that's the acceleration and deceleration I'm talking about. When you're gaining velocity, you're essentially accelerating. You're essentially decelerating. And in decelerating, you're absorbing field polarization. Yeah. But you're doing it forward of yourself. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to explain that more completely. But that's what allows the eventual, that's what creates your forward motion, is the fact that you're expelling mass and then absorbing mass from the field, but you're doing it in such a way where you get rid of this stuff at the end, and you grow stuff on the nose, and that's really how it's happening. But yeah, I have to explain that. But you can sort of understand how that would lead to you rolling forward, in the sense that if you, I can't really use a car as an illustration, but you could sort of understand that if I took a bumper off the back of the car and I kept putting it on the front of the car, and then the bumper popped into the back, and then I pulled it and put it in the front, you can sort of get the idea that the thing would end up moving forward. Yeah. But that's obviously not a complete analogy. All right. So I think I'm not going to beat this to death, because I'm really not prepared to get into all the deep elements of, well, like I said, it's not that deep. It's just complicated by the 3 dimensions and accounting for the sensitivity to specific polarizations. All right, so that's a good way to put it. Maybe you'll get this part. So if we go with this 3-dimensional geometry, and I have a random field of mixed polarizations, you can understand that something that is in one place would absorb, would filter exactly what the field is because it's just as random as the field is. Now, if I start moving the thing, so now it has less mass in one dimension and more mass in another dimension, then you can sort of understand that it will take from the field more in one dimension and it'll be less sensitive to the stuff in the other dimensions because there's less of it to interact with the gravity. All right. Boy, that's just such a hard. That's not gonna do it as an explanation. Let's see. As the matter changes, it filters differently. That's a simple statement. So as you move matter, you gain velocity. You're going to interact with the field energy differently because you're hitting, you're interacting with more of one dimensional polarization more than the others. And the only, like say, once I do have velocity, the only force that's going to stop me has to be a force that comes at me with a polarization that I'm sensitive to. It has to be a polarized force. So usually forces have to be produced by matter, obviously. And yeah, so that sort of could make sense. I might have to put that a different way. Yeah, but I really want to reduce it to this. I want to keep it fish simple. So I just have to come up with ways of identifying the distinction between the fish and some way to represent the idea that although everything's still moving the speed of light and everything's just passing through, that what it's doing while it's here is exchanging identity while it's part of you. And it's the exchange of its identity while it's part of you that keeps you a you. So I really don't want to have to get into the orbit argument, that the thing gets caught inside the matter and is orbiting, and therefore that's why the energy is held inside the atom. It doesn't need to orbit to be held inside the atom. All it needs is to constantly change its polarization. So it just means that something comes in of the wrong polarization acquires the same polarization, and that way the thing that has the polarization can leave. So the bits can leave as long as there's something to replace them. And it's the idea that the configuration of matter creates a filter that enables it to allow everything to pass right through it, but for polarization to stay in place. So it's the polarization is fixed. I guess I could say that. Inside matter is fixed inside matter. And so all you're really doing is exchanging polarization. And in that sense, you don't need things to, strictly speaking, orbit each other. You just need them to balance each other. Yeah. All right, well, I'll have to work on that. So I guess I could talk some of the Tesla crap. Ken made the photographer guy, a couple of videos where he spends the whole video just talking about what an imbecile everybody is. Einstein and anybody who thinks there's a simpler answer than light's a coaxial cable. Yeah, I think it's simpler than that. He's been emphasizing the word atomism lately, like there's something stupid about thinking in terms of, I'm especially looking into space. I mean, you see space and you see the cosmos and you see the things being atomized, quite obviously. Big space, big matter is doing the atom thing, clearly. It's doing the clump thing. Okay, as Feynman would say, um, you know, it lands as a clump, as he said about photons. Um, they're clumps, and it's kind of obvious that it seems there's a sensible default presumption that the small universe would have elements similar to the big universe, that the same forces are in effect. The same empty space that would be inside something considered an atom is the same empty space in the big space that the galaxies are flying around in. So the empty space doesn't change, and it's just the forces on a much bigger magnitude. But the forces are essentially the same. It's the same force. So I don't know. I mean, obviously, atomism doesn't. The idea of an atom isn't really the origin particle. So atomism, in the sense of a quanta of energy, like the photon, a and a photon like all other forces. So he was writing on virtual particles and virtual photons. When physicists use that as a force carrier, but that's just a concession that they're conceding that forces like gravity and magnetism behave very much like light, like any straight line force moving the speed of light. And that's why they call them virtual photons, is because the force is acting as if. Okay. And they're just not willing to say that's true, that that these force elements exist, this quanta energy. And that's really what they're saying is gravity. You got a pretty crappy microphone. Yeah, it's like a UFO. Keep trying. Not quite there yet. Or maybe he's trolling. He muted me. So he goes all that trouble, comes into the room, doing like some kind of faking a bad mic. He blipped into the room like 5 times just to do that, just to mute me. That makes sense to anybody on Earth? Couldn't possibly make sense to anybody. I don't think it's possible it could make sense. Let's see, maybe I should have the little room chat open, and then I could block these characters when they come in. Yeah, that's the way to go, Gary. Clever of you. Yes, to figure that out. List of all available commands, enter. How come I have to do shit like that? / question mark? What a pain in the ass. Why should I have to do some sort of nonsense like / question mark? Or /r question mark? They don't even tell you that. Oh, it's wrong keyboard. Pain in the ass just to find out if I got a command like block or something. Well, what good would it do me? Obviously, if I can't mouse over it, it's of little or no value. That's true, Gary. I'll enter a question / and question mark. See what I get. To message. Sends online private message. No. Shortcuts. Help. Oh, so you do / question mark to go, and then you have to still go to some other menu to get help? Oh. Displays a list of participants in the video call. Why can't I do all this some easier way? Unmutes the video of the caller. Mutes the video of the caller. I just don't know why any of this. I don't know exactly how that is going to help me. That would just end up muting me if I type that in the chat. I would think. I'd have to put their name in it somehow. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. So, yeah, it was all trolls tonight. Absolutely no point. Add chat or message or link here. So you can post links in this chat, but you can't post them in the other chat. I don't understand any of this shit. Yeah, crap. That's what I call it. Yeah. All right. So anyway, so Ken was saying all kinds of weird shit. But just ragging mostly in this bold way that you just got to be an imbecile if you think the simple answer is the baseball answer. That stuff gains acceleration when it gets hit by these forces, and that's the truth, in the direction that the thing was moving. So that's true. Why do I need a complex cathode, anode, electrical, blah, blah mush when I can create the very same system without any of that field crap? I mean, without any of the field crap in the sense of a ether or something, a dead ether through which stuff waves. When an active ether in which stuff is colored or polarized, and where stuff can, where that polarization can be arranged in a frequency, uh, explains it all. Yeah, so I don't, and it says the irony is he's ragging so heavy on this atomistic view and the particle view, and yet conventional physics is doing so much of what he wants. I mean, he complains about Einstein's bent space, but it's obviously it's a kind of a concession to an ether. I mean, it's really bent ether. It can't be bent space. I mean, space by some sort of rational definition would be something that you couldn't bend. And again, so Andrew comes back in just to mute me. And I don't know why they don't let you. I mean, people come in the room. I can't ban them when they're in the room. I don't have any other link to use. I mean, why should he be allowed to come back in the room? It just doesn't make any sense. I should be able to, permanently dispose of his existence. Yeah, well, anyway. Just, seems like it would be one of the priorities of a company that provides these kind of mechanisms that you could secure them from trolls. It seems kind of logical that you could do that. But again, it's not Google's intent is to create activity. Their intent isn't to create productive activity. Yeah. Quite irritating. Some other asshole, no doubt. I'll give you a couple of seconds to identify yourself. Hello? You have a useful purpose here? Okay, goodbye. It's just, it's nothing else you could do, right? I mean, there's no point in waiting until they mute me. So if you're going to come in the room, you better know how to use your mic, and you better somehow identify yourself as something other than a troll, or you're dead. Yeah, try one of these stupid. I don't know what a list of the people in the room is going to do me unless it's an active list that stays active. Let's see, users. See how that works. Provides a list of the people in the call. You are the only member of the video call. Well, that's just so useful. Thank you. Yes, I know that. Fucking Google. Should be a way to clear this chat shit. Yeah. How do you get rid of all the old remarks in here? They're of no value to me now. And I can select them. Let's see if I can kill them. Yeah, I can't do anything with them though. Oh well. Too bad. Alright, well anyway. I tested the microphone and the main purpose here tonight. Fuck the rest of it. But I'm just saying it is kind of ironic that Ken is so hostile. And, you know, when Einstein says there's bent space, he's obviously not saying there's bent space. He's saying there's something in space that's bending. So he's almost conceding his ether. But clearly the ether doesn't bend by Ken's perception, I wouldn't think. But maybe he thinks it can bend. I don't know. Clearly, what's being transferred through the ether is a substantial amount of something, and nobody seems able to account for it as a force, and that's what it really is. So you have to explain where the force came from. And that's why Tesla was sort of an idiot, because he kind of thought the force was being generated by the matter, and it just can't work that way. Yeah, another guy saying hi. What do you want me to say? Hi back? Cam Star. So another guy, you're just looking for trouble, aren't you? Yeah, he's got a little star for an icon. A little red star. Yeah, I just don't think you're up to anything reasonable. Just guessing, but I'm pretty sure. So, this will wait till you attempt to come in the room, and then we'll see if we can do something interesting. Yes, no LOL with a bunch of squashed smileys. Yeah. Well, I think yes. LOL. Yes. You're retarded or crazy or stupid or in some other way of little useful purpose and function. Yeah, that's it. Little useful purpose or function. Find a better microphone position. All right, anyway, yeah, that's what I was supposed to do is test for different positions of the microphone. Yeah. Can't clip it onto skin. Wow, unsubscribe. I don't even know what that means, but I think what I'll do is just say, fuck you, go away, thank you, don't come back another day. I don't even know what that means. Wow, unsubscribe. I don't know what that means. Cam Star is Ken? I don't think so. Yeah, well, Ken's a bit of a... I don't know. You can't, you know... I don't know if he could really have a conversation if he could limit it to not being able to repeat the same thing over and over and over. I mean, he told the Feynman story now, what, 17,000 times. Instead of explaining what magnetism is, Feynman just keeps talking about some old lady falling on ice and Well, yeah, and he made a part 2 to the video and then said the same thing again. And you're just like, why do you keep reciting these same stupid little irrelevant remarks? I mean, if you don't like Feynman's explanation, which basically was to say, hey, it's really complicated, and in the end, we don't know. Um, you know, it was just, there's just no point. But it's not really a counter argument. I mean, Feynman's argument was basically, okay, well, we have these things called virtual photons that are the force carrier, and they create these, field dynamic. But obviously, it's a cop out because if they should be able to say there's virtual photon is a stupid thing to talk about. Let's just talk about the real force, and the force must come from somewhere, and the photon must have it had to come from outside. It went through the magnet. It got turned into something when it went through the magnet. I mean, why can't they just do that? Just like gravity, it goes through the damn thing and it changes the thing while it goes through it. Gravity goes through you and changes you. Gravity doesn't stay inside of you. It goes through you and changes you. And that's what happens to magnetism. Gravity goes through the magnet, and because the magnet is magnetic, it's able to convert the gravity into a polarized and therefore more effective force. Okay. Yeah. But anyway, I don't want to get into magnetism here, but so anyway, yeah. But anyway, this is no. I mean, virtual photons are almost again another way of saying field energy, and so he should like that. That people are talking in those terms. Most of physics is talking about fields. They just don't. No one takes any account for where the fields come from. And that's the problem, because their conservation rules won't work with their dead ethers, and Ken's dead ether isn't going to work either. Light's not a wave through an ether. So it's a wave through something already waving, if it's going to be a wave. And it's just easier to get rid of the wave. And it's so obvious that it doesn't behave like a straight
Cadê o
line.
pão? Ô, meu
Moving in a
filha!
straight line.
Tem pão, tem.
Have,
Olha pão aqui, penteado igual.
that's
Olha
really funny.
pão.
Really,
Ha, olha
really funny.
pão.
Really
Aí,
funny.
tchá, tchá. Aí, tchá, tchá. Eu quero pão.
Yeah, so
Olha pão
there's
aqui.
no way to
Olha pão
ban anybody
aí. Aí, meu fã.
from this
Quer
room.
pão? Tó.
So all
Eu
you can do
quero
is,
pão.
all you can
Olha
do is
pão
object.
aí. Olha pão aqui. Oh, eu quero pão. Valeu, pão.
All you can do is eject somebody. You can't ban them. So I mean, I got to find a better tool than that. So yeah, when the guy comes in the room, his name's put on the list, but it's not a link, so you can't do anything. Can't ban him. Can't do anything. What's the point of that? Just plain fucking stupid, YouTube. Really retarded. Be stupid. Profoundly stupid. And I don't think there's really a setting that fixes any of this, right? Report additional diagnostics. No, I don't need diagnostics, thanks. I just don't know why they bother doing this like this. It just doesn't make any sense at all. If I ban them from the chat, it doesn't affect the live room. And if I eject him from the live room, I can't ban him from the chat. It just doesn't make any sense. To give you no choices. Why would they? I'm just sitting there. I don't want apps. This doesn't make any sense. Why would they not allow you to ban people from entering your room? I just don't get it. Nope, I don't. It's not a gettable thing, I guess. None of you people will be at all any help anyway, so yeah, fuck this. So maybe somebody in the comments will somehow explain where there's a feature somewhere on this stupid fucking piece of shit Google thing, that gives you some sort of rational capacity to appropriately say, I don't need this asshole in my life. Yeah, should be that kind of button. Let him go somewhere else. Bother someone else. I'm not interested. Why isn't that possible? I can probably kick myself out of the room, right? No, I can hide myself from the broadcast, present to everyone, which I don't even understand. I guess that means my icon always stays on. And for some reason, my camera's not even showing in this window now. So I don't even know why that happened. So incredibly useless tools. Yeah, well, like I said, virtual particles are just a way of pointing out that the force moves just like light. And so they can't account for the force as a being of a real ton because they can't explain the energy problem. Where did it go? You get it? I mean, that's the point. They have to call them virtual because they have a conservation of energy problem if they don't make them virtual, because they can't account for where they came from, what created them. Because obviously magnetism isn't like radioactivity. Okay, there's no magnetic decay. You're not eating the matter. Radioactivity, you're eating the matter. The matter is degrading. It's giving away its mass. But there's no such thing in magnetism. So you'd have to have some other explanation for where these virtual photons came from. And they don't have an explanation. And so that's why they have to call them virtual. But they're behaving just like all force carriers. That's why they want to use the word virtual particle or virtual photon, is because they're behaving as if they are a part of the electromagnetic spectrum in a sense. But that's the joke, is they really do exist. They're not virtual, they're real particles, and they're carrying polarization, and that's what's really doing the affecting of the electrons, the accelerating of the electrons. So anyway, but that's, I'm not gonna, this all has to be illustrated. You just can't just sit there and talk it. So anyway, so yeah, sorry this wasn't as productive as I thought it would be. I had some sense that I was going to be able to explain this, that velocity is actually a lack of acceleration. Having your state is now in a decelerated state, ironically, because you're experiencing less acceleration and deceleration once you're moving in one direction, because your tangential dimensions are becoming weaker and vibrating less. Perpendicular dimensions. What time is it where you are? Where you're at? I know, 137. Don't know how that's relevant, but who cares? Anyway, till next time, and such, and so forth, and whatnot. And apologies, like I said, this really wasn't a very good live room. And certainly the trolls don't help, and that's all I got to say about that. So, until next time, and such. I think so.